When we take a walk in nature, we may stop to look at the view, notice the birds flying by, find an insect or flower we hadn't noticed before, or hear the brook bubbling by. Many describe feeling a little bit more connected. We may notice our stress level drop, our breath deepen, and our worries float away. My guest today, Jessica Lynn, takes clients and groups on a voyage of discovery that deepens the sense of oneness, inspiring a connection to our passions with a chance to be curious and explore who we are as humans and who we are to ourselves. Some of us will be eager to join in such a deep discovery, and some of us will wonder why we would need to do anything like that. My interest in this discussion today is to look at what inspires us to engage in such a transformation, and what can we discover about who we are and where we want to be, while realizing our intricate connection to the universe and our small but significant role in the world. Jessica Lynn is an exceptional empath, gifted healer, professional artist, and powerful coach. Her passionate curiosity regarding human emotions and behaviors has driven her journey of self-discovery for the last 35 years. Using a vastness of resources from all across the world, as well as her own diversity and depth of life experiences, she's created courses, exercises, and techniques to support each individual's unique journey of transformation. You are listening to Be Well with Michelle Greenwell, sponsored by the Cape Breton Tea Company and Dance Debut Inc. I'm pleased to welcome Jessica Lynn. Hello, thank you for coming.
Hello, Michelle. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited about this conversation.
Me too. And as I was reading the first part that I had prepared, talking about the birds and the flying and the insects, and I'm looking behind you. So for those that are listening to the podcast, Jessica has this beautiful art piece behind her of a tree with orange and purple and yellow and just vibrant with color, and there's birds hidden in the branches of the tree. And you just exhume exactly what I was trying to describe for people who want to go outside in nature. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful compliment. Thank you.
And is that your artwork?
No, it's not my artwork. No, it is. It's another artist's artwork that I get to appreciate.
It's beautiful. And what else were you going to say before I cut you off there?
I don't remember.
Okay.
It's okay.
Oh, all right. Before we get into our conversation, I'm pulling cards this season to help people. They can set a goal while they're listening to the podcast, and maybe some way they want to be transformed by our conversation. And in order to do that, I wanted to just plant some seeds. So I'm pulling a card from my Affirmations for the Body and Biofield deck, and I'm just going to show the card. On the front, it has baby and child, is what Tanya Levy calls it. She's the one that did all the photographs that are in the card deck. And so that's that little piece. But I went to find the card and ended up with, and I just cut the deck. So I'm going to show you the piece of artwork, which is similar colors to what you have going on behind you, which is fascinating. So it's green with an orange band that comes straight down the center. And then there's some blue, which almost looks like flowers on either side. And then some darker orange to red. So we've got yellow, blue, greens, everything that's behind you, which I absolutely love. It comes from the Fascia Matrix Connections part of the deck. There's 4 decks there. Our world is transformed by the ease within which we step forward and take action and stand in our truth of our discoveries. So I think that lends well to what we're talking about today. And it has to do with the ankle. And I'm not going to dive into that at the moment. I'll leave that for a bit, but I wanted to set that affirmation. All right. Is it funny how the colors come up? Hey, Jessica, like circumstance.
Yeah. Yeah, the colors were absolutely perfect. It was great.
All right. The second part that I want to do is bring about the transformation through tea. So when we're sipping tea, we have the chance to transform what it is we're looking at. So Jessica, what have you put into your tea mug today?
So this here is full of saffron. Saffron tea. And the reason I chose that for today, other than the bees being absolutely adorable and the little guy here, is that, first of all, yellow is my favorite color. It really brightens my day and it really puts me in a really energetic, enthusiastic state. But saffron is the center of the flower. And the flower, from what I understand, is purple, but the center of the flower, when it's dried, they call it the spice, is red. And when you soak it and make tea, it gets this really interesting color because it's like this translucent red and yellow. It'll leave yellow on the sides of the wall, but you can see there's red in it. And it's like this translucent red-orange color. It's so unique. But the reason why I picked the bees with the flower is because we know how they're connected. And our conversation is going to go in this direction, but this is just one other way to remind us how we're all interconnected and affect each other across the world, as well as with nature. Because, of course, bees can go into your yard where you've planted flowers, collect the pollen, fly to their hive, make the honey, and then someone could collect that honey and jar it, and I could buy it. And so you've just enhanced my life because you enhanced your own life by planting flowers for yourself. So the more we do for ourselves, the more we do for others. And that was my way of showing that with the tea today.
Oh my goodness. And for those that are listening to the podcast, your mug is like a honeycomb. And it's bright yellow. And then there's some ceramic bumblebees on it. Yeah, on the handle. It's just, wow. And that's what I wanted to talk about was those little things that we do that make the difference. So as you're, how many layers are in your cup of tea at this moment? It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. So I have a tea that I haven't released yet in the tea company. It's purple. And the tea, you can see it there coming through.
Yeah, it's a beautiful color.
Yeah, it's amazing. And that's the blue pea flower does that, creates that little bit. And this was a blend. I enjoy making tea blends. And this one I made for a couple that got married in Alberta. I've known the bride since she was born. And I wanted to do something special for their celebration. So this is called Kisses and Dreams. And with the purple that comes out of it, if you wanted to add a little bit of lemon to it, it would turn to a blue color. So then you have that transformation. And again, what kinds of pieces can you pull in to make that transformation happen? And I put it in a clear glass today because you have to look at it. You put it in a mug, it's just not the same. Yeah. So, I mean, if you wanted at dinner time, you could put it in a wine glass and people would be, in awe of what have you got in your glass today. So, so let's do a cheer. Thank you so much. In Cape Breton here, we would say slange.
Cheers.
Thanks for the conversation.
And I have to mention, I did put honey in here because I would have to.
You would have to, exactly.
Yes. There's another layer.
Oh, and too, I was thinking about saffron, and it's one of those spices, from terms of spice, that you don't need very much, just a tiny little bit, and it goes such a long way. And, we'll add it to rice, but it's such a subtle little piece. So the influence. So I appreciate what you brought in thinking about using that as a tea. So
yes, and it adds color to dishes, and I'm all about adding color. So saffron works for me, but it's also an interesting spice tea because it goes as far back as being mentioned in the Old Testament. Just a little interesting fact there.
Yeah. Which is, there we are for transformation. So I'm going to bring in one idea, which is going back to the idea of the ankle. And for a lot of people, they have sore feet or their ankles are tight or their ankles roll, or sometimes they just have pain in them. And that can be part of that unwillingness or inability to move forward. And the ankle is indicating that fear and anxiety that's kind of going on in the body. So I just wanted to bring that forward, because by pulling that card today, it was so timely, because as the listeners are here to hear about what transformation is, that's an opportunity for them to realize there's going to be little signals in the body about where there is some anxiety or fear around making a change. And then rather than stepping back from that, because someone might say, oh, I can't walk because my feet hurt, which I've been there. That's my own transformation. But then to that place of, that's my signal. I need to do something, and I need to do something different because this isn't working. So I just wanted to bring that forward. And I wanted also to add one more piece that you had shared with me, but I didn't put it in the intro, and I just wanted people to hear it. So if you just give me a moment to read this little snippet and describe you a little bit more, Jessica.
Sure.
All right. So when you sent me your bio, you also sent me your mission. And a lot of people don't do that, but a mission is really important to understanding why you're here. And I enjoyed what you wrote there, and helping people. Your mission is to help people realize about how we can transform the world. You did that with your cup of tea right off the bat. And it's no small feat, or it could be a daunting task, whichever way you want to look at it, that we can be vibrant with our truth of what life means to us and what we mean to others, and how we can realize that whole meaning around life that comes forward. And you so eloquently put that into your example. So here's what Jessica sent me in a quote. So, my mission is to guide others to reconnect to the sense of human oneness and the sense of being interrelated and at one with the natural world and all of life. I offer an understanding of how we're all connected and in all ways supporting each other. I shift perspectives from insignificance to ownership of our innate powers to raise the frequency of humanity, this planet, and all galaxies and beyond. By creating simple shifts in our approach to each moment, our sensations and emotions within, we're empowered with the ability to brighten someone's day across the world, or even galaxies away, by creating waves of higher vibration. That is so beautiful. And when you think about how your life or someone's life in general, just I have meaning, I have purpose for being here, and because I'm here, those around or who are influenced by me are going to be transformed. That's so beautiful. Thank you, Jessica.
Absolutely. You're welcome. And thank you for sharing that. We feel so small and not capable of making a change. And I would really, really want people to understand that that's not the case. So I'm hoping this conversation does just that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, we're off to a really good start.
Wonderful.
Okay. So I would like to go into what happened to help you realize the depth of a reason for living, and what moved you to create a mission that included all those with whom you have the ability to support and to create the space for change. You want to talk about how that came to be?
So that started a long, long time ago, but I didn't know that. As far as I can remember, I would wake up every morning with an intense feeling of heavy, heavy energies. And I honestly thought that it was my guilt and shame for not being able to heal my mother. My mother was ill. And so I thought it was because I wasn't capable, because I felt this, like I was supposed to fix these things, but I couldn't figure out how, being 1, 2, 3 years old. And I felt this immense guilt and shame for it. Like I was failing at something I was supposed to do. And as I got older, at that age, and even up till about 10 or 11, I thought everyone felt that. I thought everyone felt they came across another person and they could feel their emotions and know exactly where the person was emotionally. And it wasn't until about 10 or 11 that I started to realize that that's not the case. Not everyone experiences that. But the one thing that it did hit me at a very young age, probably about 13 years old, was that everyone's the same. So when we walk up to someone, we see that they're different on the outside, and we see that they have a different car and they have different clothes and all these things that are different, but every person was the same. It was the same flow of sensations that were moving through them, through me, and through the world. And I started wondering, why can I feel this? Why do other people not feel this? What's going on? So I got curious at a young age, but it was more of an internal curiosity. And I didn't know anyone might have answers for me outside. I didn't even share it very much other than with my mother. And she did tell me that she experienced the same thing. So again, I thought everyone did. Moving forward, because of that, I struggled a lot in my early 20s with it because I didn't know what to do with it. And it was really heavy and it started to really bring me down. And fortunately, I had some angels in my life. And this one woman who is a mother of a friend of mine handed me a book on creative visualization and shamanism. And the creative visualization book empowered me. It helped me take responsibility for those emotions that I was feeling and teaching me how to shift them in different ways for myself and for others. And I didn't know it was for others, but once I was shifting myself, it affected others. And the shamanism book just brought it all into like a whoa, we really are all connected. Like it cracked me open. And I went, there is so much I need to know. And at that point, I dove in. I accepted myself as an empath. I accepted myself as an artist, all things that I had been avoiding because there's a lot of emotion involved in those things. Yeah. And I didn't know how to handle it. So I accepted myself as these things and I jumped in. I heard a saying around that time, hurt people hurt people. And when I heard that saying, that was another thing. It was like the universe cracked open. And I went, oh, so if we don't have hurt people, there'll be less people hurting people. And so once I got that idea, I was like, okay, how can we change this so there's less hurt people so that we can raise the vibration, because emotions are vibrations, emotions are frequencies. We can raise that. And of course, shamanism talks about how everything's connected on frequencies and vibrations and such. So the other thing too that shamanism mentioned for me was the oneness and the interconnectedness of all things. And it really resonated. That just felt right inside. And I was like, oh, okay. So with all these little pieces, I started going, okay, I can put all this together and I can figure this out for myself. And at first it was about protecting myself from all the energies that were coming at me. Because I was like, if I'm constantly in a state of pulling in everybody's energies and feeling it, that I could get sick, other things could happen. This is not my stuff. How can I transmute it? How can I transform it? What can I do to help? So, that's what I've spent the last 30, 35 years doing, in one way or another, is trying to figure that out. So one of my favorite stories that helped me understand this was the story of Ubuntu. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I haven't, no.
Okay, so there's an anthropologist was studying the habits and customs of an African tribe. And he had a lot of children. The children were curious. So they were always around him, wondering what he was doing, asking questions and all that. And one day he thought to himself, I should probably play games with them, teach them some games from, where I come from. So he went to a neighboring village and he got a whole bunch of candy and he put it in a basket. And he said, kids, we're going to play a game. All of you stand up over there. I'm going to put this basket under the tree. And when I say go, whoever runs and gets to the basket first gets the whole thing of candy to themselves. And so he goes, okay, go. And they all grab hands and they ran together and they picked up the basket and they sat down and they put all the candy out evenly amongst themselves and they sat there happily chomping away. And he said to them, why did you all run together when one of you could have ran there and had it all to yourself? And their answer was, how could any of us be happy if one of us is sad? And when I heard the story, I was like, the whole world needs this. If we all approach the world with this philosophy, with this way of being, we would always be taking care of each other. We would be sharing. We wouldn't be hoarding. We wouldn't feel the need to. It would be such a beautiful place. So that became my mission, to figure out how to do this, how to share this, how to give people in, that's not in those countries with that mindset, in other countries with the mindset of, I got to take what I can get and kind of claw my way through, and competition and all that sort of stuff. How do I get to those minds? How do I get to those people to help them see something differently? Mm-hmm. And that's when I started coming up with different experiences to bring people through, to help them on their path with that. The other thing I'd like to mention about that also is another study that was done about frequency and water. And the reason why I bring this up is because I want people to understand that we can reach each other across the world. And there was, what was his name? Dr. Jacques, and forgive me if I don't say these names properly, but Dr. Jacques Benveniste, in 1988, he did a test that proved that water holds memory. And then later on, a Nobel Prize winner, Dr. Luc Montagnier, took DNA and he put it in water and he diluted the water to the point where there was no physical DNA left. But there were some frequencies in the water. So he recorded those frequencies into an audio file, a .wav file, and he sent that .wav file, that audio file, across the world to Italy. And the scientists in Italy played that audio file with some water, and the DNA frequencies showed up in the water across the world through an audio file. So I just want to throw that in there before we go into the exercise so that people can get the idea that we're 85% water, something like that. So if there's audio frequencies from a disc affecting water, what else is going on? There's just a lot more going on. So I wanted to just kind of set the stage for that.
I want to share with you, because I don't think you and I talked about this before, the opening music that is played for the podcast was created, my son created it for me, but we recorded my bare feet on the ground and the sounds that came from the different steps that I did. Some were tap dancing, some were step dancing. But the second part was, I have these lovely Sound Essence sprays. They come from Evelyn Mulder's Sound Essence, and it's full of lots of different frequencies, color, gemstones. And I know for those people listening that are not into that yet, that's hard to understand. I thought I would get, if we sprayed the spray, and I had different ones with different frequencies, that we would get the shh sound that comes from the spray. But when we recorded, it didn't record the shh sound. It recorded the sound that was within the water. And the two of us sat there and we were astounded because each spray had its own set of sound waves and they were not replicable. It was so interesting. So that's what's actually in my sound bite that goes with the podcast. And it is a way to elevate those people who are listening, because at the start, that's what they get before we even dive in. Yeah.
Nice. That's incredible.
Really, it's so lovely to be able to have a conversation about it and share that piece. So thank you so much for bringing that science forward.
Yeah. That's, I'm amazed. That's so cool. And I can't wait to listen to that music again. Now that I know that.
Now that you know it's there. Yeah. And I think I mentioned it in the intro, but it's one of those things that, you know, it's a subtle thing in the background. People don't think too much about those pieces, but
Yep.
but the podcast has been put together with the idea of transformation and creating the space for those people listening, for the not just to be another podcast. It's an opportunity for them to really embrace change and what's possible. So I don't want to hold back on this, because you do have an exercise for us to explore. So I'm going to be quiet and let you go forward.
Okay, so one of my favorite meals, and a lot of people don't consider it a meal, but for me, it's a big bowl. It's a meal, is soup. And one of my favorite soups is pho, a Thai soup with rice noodles. And so the exercise we're going to do today is with rice noodles.
Okay.
So what I want to bring up and hopefully help people understand from this box of rice noodles is all the ways that I have been supported around the world in having a nurturing, comforting, soothing bowl of soup made by my incredible wife, who is an excellent cook. And I'm so grateful for that. But this right here came from across the world, from an Asian country. And so the discussion I want to have with you, Michelle, is we have a piece of plastic, we have the rice noodles, and we have the box. And I'd like to talk about all the other things that are involved in this item that we don't typically think of, and who might have been involved, and how many who's might have been involved in this box coming to my home and allowing me to have a phenomenal, soothing bowl of soup. So if you think about it, I'll start off and then you can jump in any point and throw in your input. But I'll start off by saying that this box is cardboard. Now, we all know that cardboard is typically made with trees. So we have planet Earth literally right here giving to us to have this container to hold my rice noodles. And then on top of that, we have ink. A lot of inks are made from plants. We don't really know if this is a chemical ink or a plant ink, but you have the ink made from plants, possibly, and also from chemicals. So we have people around the world that have harvested the plants and pulled the inks out of the plants, the colors out of the plants, and then probably sold them and shipped them in some form of a container to a place that then made the ink, which probably required chemicals. So then you have a place where the chemicals are possibly a byproduct of another product. And those chemicals are jarred, canned, whatever, put in a plastic bin, something, and then shipped to a place where there's all these people that are then taking that and making the ink. And so already we've probably hit maybe a couple hundred people that have played a role in this box in my soup that I get to eat. So then we have on the box also, we have a designer. We have the person that created the font, which is probably not the designer, right? And we even have the person that did I guess you could call it copywriting, but there's a recipe here. So somebody created the recipe. Somebody put it all together. We have a graphic designer. There's a photograph here of a soup. So we have a photographer, right? So just in this box alone, we've probably hit possibly close to 1,000 people. that have made the soup for my meal possible. So do you have any input you want to put in there of anything you're thinking about?
Well, I was looking at the other side where you have the nutritional value. And you've got the people who make sure the food coming into our hands is safe food, but also who've evaluated the food, who've taken it into its nutritional qualities. So that's like teams of people in order to do the different aspects of that. Not to mention that particular label, because that's not going to be the same as the graphic designer. So that was what jumped out at me, only because as I'm working on tea, trying to bring that same nutritional quality piece in, I've been playing with that. And then you have the years and years of the seeds that created the rice. How many generations of rice have been grown in order for us to have this particular rice noodle?
Yes, yes. And then if we think about the discussion with water earlier, rice is grown with a lot of water. And I don't know how they do it all the time, and I don't know if this rice has been done that way, but a lot of it is done by hand, by people. So I'd like to bring up the idea that if frequencies can affect water, and there's literally human beings standing in these rice fields of water, harvesting these plants, whatever mood they're in, that frequency is going in the water that is then being, absorbed by these plants. And so now frequencies are being put in our food by the water. So then also when they made the rice, they probably dried it and powder, turned it into some type of flour, and then added water to make the noodle in some way. And so there's a question that I have for the world, basically, and that is we see, you go to a health food store and you see all this organic food and it's being sprayed by water. And no one's asking what kind of water. What's that water been through? What's the memories in that water? What's in the water? And just the water alone, I think if we transformed how we use water and raised the frequency of the water alone, that would help raise the frequency of human beings and plants and the planet across the world, that alone. But I do want to also bring us to the idea that, say someone that's standing in a rice field harvesting just had an argument with their family. Now that information of their frequencies is going into that rice. But let's say that they are the type of person that has brought themselves into a state where they have such a strong core foundation within them that they know that whatever is going on in the world around them and outside of them, that if they apply love, compassion, understanding, etc., they can let that go, and they can feed their family with that love and compassion while they're out there harvesting. And now that's what's being fed into the plants and into the water and into the earth and into themselves and into me, because this is going to be my soup. So the idea of that, and of course, we don't need the water. We don't need the water to send the frequencies of love and compassion and everything out to be absorbed by the people around us. And I know that from my own experience as an empath and having been able to feel and almost, I don't want to say see, because I don't see it physically, but it's almost like if you imagined yourself in a place that's completely black and your eyes are open and you can see, but there's nothing to see. That's how I see emotions, in that way. And I know that they pass through us. And this right here, this idea of, if the person that was in the field put all that love and compassion into my soup, into my noodles for my soup, I'm going to have a phenomenal soup, right? But if they were angry and upset, and I don't bless my food first and transmute and transform that, well, then maybe it won't be so good this time. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you make a recipe exactly the same every time. And sometimes it's really, really good. And other times it's not. And you wonder, what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also the plastic. So if we talk about the plastic and all, that's used typically a petroleum product. And we think about all the people that were involved in, pumping the oil out and separating it into all the different chemicals that then make the plastic and the plants. But then I also want to address everything has to ship.
Mm-hmm.
And if we think about the containers that are created for each and every step of the way, well, that's a lot. That's a lot of containers, right? But then if you think about planes, trains, boats, automobiles, and all the ways that it's shipped, and you start breaking each and every one of those down into its individual components that are made in warehouses all around, in manufacturing plants all around the world. And then you have to think about the fact that we had to mine the metal and all the places that, and the people involved in that. Now we have reached around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We've reached hundreds of thousands of people that have played a role in my soup. So if I take the time before eating my soup to thank everyone involved and send some love and appreciation in frequency, in vibration, somebody could just be standing in a grocery store and be like, wow, all of a sudden I feel really good. And they might not know why. But it's just, I appreciate them. I appreciate my soup that I couldn't have without them putting that energy into it. And then if we think about how if everyone thought of it that way, like I'm doing my job because I'm supporting someone's soup, I'm supporting someone's meal, I'm supporting, someone's lotion that makes them feel special, or anything at all, any product. You can pick up anything. Like, don't go to the grocery store and try and think about this, because it'll just
Right?
just blow your mind. But pick up an item here and there and think about it. Just to keep yourself expanding and connecting to all things, all people. And of course, the metal and the oil and all those things are the earth. And so the earth is supporting us every day in every way. And I just hope that can help people understand how we really, truly are interconnected, and we can't do this without each other.
And interesting piece that you said, because I'm thinking about Dr. Emoto's work with the water, and that if you put a word on the outside of a glass, or you could do it with rice, you could do it with cooked rice, because that's what they do in the experiments with kids in school. But you put a different word on, if you put love or kindness on there, you transform what's in presence of what you're working with. He did it with water. And you have a choice, and you also have the chance to send that thank you. And just by taking the moment to reciprocate the energy, people think sometimes that life is just what it is. It's just stuck there, or life just hits you. Like some people say that, right? And it is what it is, but it's not. It is if that's how you decide you want to live. But if you decide you want to live in transformation, then it's just putting your energy towards that tiny shift, because that's not a big shift. But look at how many people you just brought into the conversation by holding up the box.
Yeah. Yep. It's amazing, and it blows my mind whenever I do this exercise. I actually used to do it with my kids at dinner. We would have dinner, and that I'd start the conversation like, talk to me about that fork. How did that get to you? And, so it's really, really effective to do with kids, and they some of them get really excited, especially younger, get really excited about this. And because their world is so big, and keeping it big because we live in these small towns, or we live in even a city seems like a world in and of itself, and you forget about how big everything is. And so it's a really great thing to do with kids.
It changes the way, too, when you're thinking about your meal, how quickly you want to consume that meal. Because now it's not just a matter of, I just want to take that boxed product and I just want to eat it in the 5 minutes that I have right now for lunch because I need to nourish myself, period. But if you transform that into, the gifts that were offered, so I'm going to take the time to reflect on the fact that this gift has come my way. And then how can I change my experience about eating? Because eating is no longer squirting that yogurt tube into your mouth. It's about what is yogurt? What does it take to make yogurt? And then what is it like when you savor the flavor of yogurt instead of just squirt it in because you just need nutrients?
Yeah, exactly. It really does transform how you approach simple things that you do all the time. Brings a completely different energy into it.
Yeah. And as when we first started the tea company back in 2015, it was tea with intention. So it was the intention of the herbs coming together in a certain compilation, and then the intention we had when we went to drink the tea. And it was really hard for people to understand or comprehend the depth of that in a package. And then when we shifted it over to the Cape Breton Tea Company, and we started to talk about just one title, Summer Breeze. Just what does it feel like in the summertime when you stand in that sun and people go, I get that. But that's intention. That's the intention of this experience. When you make Summer Breeze, that's what you think of. And then all of a sudden you're transformed from there. It's so powerful.
And that's also a frequency. So the frequency of a summer breeze in your body, you feel that frequency, you feel that shift. And then if you think of something like not being able to find a parking spot when you're in a rush, that's a completely different frequency. So which one do you want? And you get to choose at any point in time, because we all have experiences that if we bring in that memory, we can bring in that frequency. And that's actually a lot of how I approach coaching and teaching is experiential, because that way you're actually bringing it in as that experience. And people can't deny that you have that power. That's your power. And that's why we feel so small, but we're not. We have this power of being an antenna and a transmitter of frequency for this planet and for humanity. And that's immense.
Yeah. So then, what is our role in the world? We have a huge role. We have a huge role in the success and what we pass forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to make sure that gets, like, if people are like, yeah, well, that's just an idea. Actually, if anyone's really interested, there's a company called Heart Math Institute, and they do a lot of tests on this idea. And it has become very clear that the bioelectromagnetic field, such as the one that radiates from the human heart and brain, but the heart being the strongest of the two, of one person can affect other individuals and the global information. And then they've done tests where they've taken groups of about 2,500 people that all focus on a certain city or town or area. And they have, I forget what they're called, but they're basically little antennas that read the frequency of the area. And they notice that the frequencies raise when these people that are meditating and focusing with love and intention and appreciation, et cetera, on this area, the frequencies go up. But not only that, crime goes down and hospital visits go down and many other positive effects happen. And even after the meditators stop meditating and setting their intention, there's like a residual effect that sits around in that area for a while, and then it slowly fades. But if we all always came from this state and this knowing, and we embodied this, then it would always stay. It would always be around. So I wanted to just throw that out there for the people that are a little bit more scientific and want to look into something like that. Heart Math Institute is a phenomenal, they're doing some phenomenal things to show us this is the power that we have.
Exactly. And you said two other important things that I would like to just point out for listeners. And one is that connection piece, because when we connect with intention of love and kindness, that's that like a chemistry piece, and we make the change. We can do it with ourselves, but we don't have the same impact because it's that exchange with someone else that is so important. And so I just wanted to bring that as an idea for people to think about. And the other piece, I just wanted to reiterate, when we were doing some studies, it was when I was working on my master's, we had done therapeutic touch sessions, and we had someone who could do live blood analysis work. And what we discovered was, if you took the time after a healing session, to sit at least 15, 20 minutes, there was this cumulative effect of what you had accomplished in the session. But by sitting there and letting the body continue to bathe in that new frequency, it could magnify what you had done. But for a lot of people, they do an experience and then they move to the next thing. And they don't have the space between for that time to be able to let that reflection, the cumulative part, continue. And so for a lot of people too, if they go for a session with someone, they walk out of the session and they're like, what time is it? What's next on my schedule? I need to connect. How many text messages have I missed? And already they've shifted that frequency. And the work that they've done was valuable, but they said not as valuable as I'd like it to be. Let me change it so I can come back and do it again. So just taking that time is really, really valuable, which was the point of having a cup of tea and sit and listen to the podcast. Take your time. Don't be rushing from one place to the next, and think about what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the intention of the person that had the treatment, that person's intention to absorb the richness of that experience, which involves not just the practitioner and themselves, but the energies. It involved the energies that are out there, the frequencies, all of these healing things that we have available to us. And so that's another thing that I love about when I do take the time to be grateful and really enjoy the moment, be present. Presence is so incredibly important. There's a richness to life that is lost when you're not doing that. And when I'm not doing that. Chocolate, I love chocolate. It's one of my favorite things. And when I eat a piece of chocolate and run, it's not the same experience as when I eat a piece of chocolate and I feel the textures and all the different flavors on all sides of my tongue and all the different taste buds, the way they react, and appreciating it in the way that I've just described with the rice and all that. That makes me feel so rich, so rich and full. I do that instead of just eating the chocolate and running. Big difference. Yeah.
And it's almost actually when you eat the chocolate to run, you notice the texture, like I'm just thinking of the crunching of the eating of it, the mechanics of it.
Yes.
That's what you'll remember from it or notice. And the other stuff, the senses aren't even ignited to have the experience. Yeah.
Yep. I'm so glad you get it.
So, I know it's like candy conversation, it's just so beautiful. Okay, so let's move from there, because you have another exercise for us to explore. Do you want to introduce this?
Yeah, so I would like to leave people with a way to, if they choose to, apply this to their life other than with thought. So, of course, we can think about every meal that we have and every shampoo we use and in all our products. And we can think, oh, it had to go here and go there and this, it needed this and that. And all these people were involved. But again, mechanics. But if we decide to take the time, and this is my practice, and there's many ways you could do this. And I've added this into my other practices so they can enhance and complement other things that you do as well. But one of the things that I find is that if I put my hands on my heart and I smile, but not just with my smile, with my eyes. I smile with my eyes and I go within and I just kind of feel all that smiley energy happening behind my eyes and in my face, and I let that drop into my heart. For me, it shows up as a golden energy that fills my heart and just starts to pump through every part of my body and into the tiniest little cells. And now I'm glowing. And I say to myself, my intention is to share this love and appreciation and gratitude for all the support that I have received in this particular item coming to me, or just in general, out to everyone in the world that has affected me in some way. The people that collect the honey for my tea, the people that collected all these little pieces of the saffron flower so that I could have the tea. All of the people that are going to affect my life today around the world, I send you love. I send you love, appreciation, and I wish for you the best possible day that you could have. And I do that. And then throughout my day, I do the same thing with a glass of water. Because with all of the things that we've learned about the frequencies that water can actually absorb, I send all that love and everything into that water, and I recycle that by bringing it back into my body and filling my body with those frequencies, which then now makes it easier for me to go ahead and give it out and just be that transmitter and that antenna for the world. So as an empath, this really, really helped a lot. When I feel heavy energies, I'll walk through the grocery store and walk by someone and be like, oh, they're having a hard time. And I will take a moment, pretend I'm looking at an item or something, but I will do the same thing. And I will radiate that out until it encompasses them. And then I will just sit with it for a while and I'll say, if you are willing to receive this, this is yours. I appreciate you so much because I know you've played a role in my life in some way. And it might have been that they are friends with or partners with or parents of someone that played a role in my life in some way. And so it doesn't have to be that they were directly driving a truck or, harvesting rice or anything like that, but we are all connected through each other, through those emotions and energies that are flowing. And then, I didn't even mention this, but this is so fascinating. A lot of people haven't thought of this. Water in and of itself is recycled. It is a body of water that this planet has had for as long as we've known. And it's the same water being recycled over and over and over. And that goes back forever. That goes back through animals, plants, and people. We are just recycling that water. And so if water's holding memory and frequency, and we're absorbing it, that's the memory of the planet. That's all of it. And so you can even intend that water allows you access to the information that you need from it and open yourself up for that. And so it's endless. I mean, it's so big. It's so simple, but it's so big and feels so complicated, but it's not. I truly believe that's what we were made for. I really do. I just like to point that out with water. You can even use it at night when you go to bed. Put your intention, like if you have a problem you need to solve, put your intention in the water that you're going to receive that answer through the night. and drink half so that the intention goes into you, and then leave the other half by the bed. And the intention is that the water is going to pick up the frequency of the solution that you need, or even if you want to adopt a characteristic or something, and then drink the water in the morning and go through your day expecting that that's being sorted out, and see what happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of, I have quite a few, I work with a lot of seniors, and, waking up in the middle of the night is a real problem for them, but also waking up and not being able to go back to sleep. So they could be up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and that's it for them for the night. And wouldn't it be lovely to have that glass of water beside, and, and not the intention that I need to sleep through the whole night, because some people don't need as much sleep as they think. So even to just say, I will be nourished and refreshed when I rise,
Yes.
Something as simple as that. So you're not defining that if you didn't sleep all the way through till 8 a.m., it wasn't a good night's sleep, but that you got what you needed, and that's all that you needed. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great way to use it. I think water is one of the most fascinating elements on the planet. And I do think it is a tool that we can use in a really powerful way, as well as I do think that of ourselves as well.
Yeah. And being we're roughly 80% water, how much we can transform by just engaging with water and starting to play. And it's not even that we'd have to direct it to ourselves, although we could, but even if we just were directing into that glass of water, that's still changing the water within us by our intention. And how powerful that can be. Yeah. Intention, when I started to dive into intention and what's possible, my world transformed, number one, which you can also, reiterate to. But I don't know how to remove it out. Like, it's just like, you can't, there's just so much richness in it. And I hadn't thought about what you do going to the grocery store and identifying that person who needs a little bit extra, but some people intuitively do it by making eye contact with people when they're in the store. And it's funny why you would not really look at too many people, and all of a sudden somebody catches your eye, and it's like, I need to connect with that person. But, when your eyes say, I see you, sometimes that's all they needed, was somebody saw me today. I wasn't just a ghost that walked through the grocery store. Yeah. And the smile.
Change the day. Change the trajectory of the entire day for that person.
Yeah.
And yourself.
Yeah. When I was teaching dance and my body was in so much pain, and it was just, try to get through each day. When I started the healing process of that, I really started to embrace what I received out of each day going into the studio. Instead of how much was I giving to the choreography, how much was I giving to the dancers and the dance parents and all the influences that were there, then it became the richness that came back. But that's when I started to do collaborative work. And instead of just having teachers going into each of the studios, they did their work, that was our day, we actually came together and we combined the kids. And we had this collaborative process, but that was the enrichment part, because the more I worked with more people in a collaborative way, everything just magnified.
Yeah.
And it is so much fun.
Right.
It's no longer the work of, I need to get this choreography done, or I need to teach these dance steps today. Then it became, where will we end up?
Curiosity. Yeah, absolutely. I think curiosity has saved my life, honestly, because I don't know where I'd be without getting curious about my experience, feeling all these energies and everything. And instead of going, oh God, I got to hide from the world, I got curious. And because of that curiosity, I have discovered so many fascinating, wonderful things and had so many amazing conversations like I am right now. And curiosity can open your entire world and expand everything for you. And that also helps you absorb the richness, like we've discussed. So yeah, and I love what you said about going from what am I giving to what am I receiving. And many of us are so good at giving and not so good at receiving. And so with intention and energy and frequency, and you start working in this way, and you start receiving the richness in each and every moment, that fills you with this energy and vibration that you can't help but give away. And so it's this constant cycle, because you're just saying, planet, you're amazing, you're beautiful, humanity, you're so interesting, like, what else have you got for me? And you receive it, and then you feel so enlightened, and in a sense of lightened, and also enlightened to some people, and all of a sudden it's just pouring out of you, and it's effortless. Where a lot of people are they're trying to give and give and give and make it okay for everybody. And when you do it in this way, it's a cycle, and it's just a natural flow, and there's so much more ease, and your body feels the difference. Like you mentioned, your body feels the difference. Yeah. And it's incredible how much healing could happen just by people changing their way of being. In that sense, they could heal so much.
Yeah. Wow, I know you and I could just keep going, and the richness of the conversation would continue on. I think we've definitely intrigued people with the conversation and the way to look at things, and I hope we've opened them up to think about, with curiosity, where they can go. And with curiosity too, you don't have to make a commitment. It's just a look. That's all. Just a look. Doesn't mean you have to change a lot, but then you also have that opportunity to say, these are the things I do want to change. So, yes.
It's just an exploration. Yeah. Which children explore everything. And so when you bring that childlike, not childish, but childlike behavior in, of exploring and curiosity, that also makes you feel younger. And that's another frequency shift. So,
exactly. Yep. To finish off today, what is your go-to movement that you usually do?
Oh, it's for sure dance. 5-minute dance breaks throughout the day. Whenever the energies start to get heavy, 5-minute dance break, for sure. Yep.
I love it. And even just to say, I'm doing my 5-minute dance break. I love that. And one of the things for me with dance, I could break into, I love foot percussion, but I also have really been into spiral movements. And I find now that when I step up away from my computer, that's usually what I'm doing, is some kind of a spiraling, opening kind of feel. And it does expand. And I'm looking at the tree that's behind you in your artwork, and that's what I feel like when I'm doing that piece is.
Yeah, and the planet is sacred geometry, how everything's made, and a lot of it's the golden mean spiral and the Fibonacci spiral. So that just makes total sense now that you mentioned that. So I'm going to add that to my little dance break.
When your dance break happens.
Yeah, for sure. I can't believe I didn't think of it before.
Jessica, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your growth and wisdom. And I know you're launching into new programming and opportunities. Do you want to share how people can find you and get to know more about you?
Sure. Yeah. I do have a course coming up, and I'm also going to start a virtual party of sorts just to bring community together. And so the ways to reach me is Facebook, which is a little challenging under Jessica Lynn. It's a little hard to find me because there's so many Jessica Lynns in the world. But I'm sure that can be posted somewhere. And then I have sacredinteractions.com, where I have a free ebook on befriending your emotions, which of course changes your frequency and vibration. And it also brings them on as allies to support you. It's amazing transformation that can happen there, and it empowers you on a level that you can't even imagine. Let's see. So Sacred Interactions and Facebook are probably the best ways to get in touch with me. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And so sacredinteractions.com is your website, and Success from Within is your Facebook.
Yeah, Success from Within is my Facebook group. And if anyone wants to join that, I would love that. That'd be fantastic. Let's connect.
Lovely. All right. Thank you so much, Jessica. And I look forward to the next time we have a conversation.
Oh, me too. And thank you so much for the opportunity to share this experience and perception and insights of mine. I really appreciate the chance to share.
Beautiful. Season 3, we're devoting to the transformational process that happens when people reach into their authentic selves and create magic. Our season has several publications this year, and we hope they inspire and empower you to consider living your true heart's desire with love and compassion for others at the forefront. Thank you for joining us. This is Be Well with Michelle Greenwell, wishing you the courage to face your own transformation for the well-being of those around you. Take care.